This week we're going to talk to Bear about how to get into Turo, how to run a Turo fleet, and all that good stuff. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla weekend. Bear, you might have a Turo car or two. What made you get into that? And how did you get into it?
Well, how I got into it was I had a truck that was sitting around that from a previous business that I had sold, and it was just sitting there. But I wanted to keep it because it could tow my trailer, and was I had two Teslas and a pickup truck. And in Arizona, everybody has a pickup truck. I'd get kicked out if I didn't have it, so I had to keep it. Small payment, but I still wanted to get it paid for. So I had seen other people on YouTube doing things like this thing called Toro. So I was like, you know what? Let me try that out. Because in my previous life, I had RVs and I had always rented them out. I've had RVs for 10 years and I used to have one all the time and I'd rent it out and I'd make a decent amount of money on it. It's like, I'm familiar with renting stuff out. So let me try this. And I actually, at the time, I had two RVs. So I was renting out two RVs at the same time. Obviously, I wasn't even using them and just to make some extra money. So, okay, let's rent out a pickup truck. So I put it up there, and it's a 2014 F-250 XL. It had manual windows, and the thing went out all the time. I rented it out cheap, but it was making three times the payment. So I was like, "This is good. This is really good. Let me." And I'm talking to my wife, and my wife's like, "Well, let's put our Teslas on there." It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll just have to manage it so that we have an extra car or we always have a car to drive. And which I did a horrible job of doing that. So I said, well, we should get more cars. That way we'll always have a car to drive. She said, well, won't we run into the same problem? Nah, they
Nah.
won't. They won't all get booked out at the same time. So we're still trying to do that. We're trying to have more cars than than we can rent out so that we always have a car to drive. That's the goal right now. That's the only goal. And that's how I've ended up at 37 cars. And because we
So,
just need a car to drive.
so the way to grow is get loans where you can get them, and normal kind of try to finance other ways, right?
Yeah. One of the things that I did was I leveraged the business that I just sold. It still existed. I didn't sell the business, I sold the client list. So I still technically own the business and I still had income from that year. So I just translated that into my rental business, which I don't know if that's 100% legit, but I hope none of my lenders are watching this. But I've made
Well,
every payment.
yeah. And why wouldn't it be? It was a business because if you change from doing decks to doing pools, it's still income.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
So
is.
if it's the same business with comparable revenue, it's it's fine. So,
Yeah.
what are some common mistakes you've seen people make when they're building a Turo fleet to manage?
One of the best things that you can do so that you don't make mistakes is get onto Facebook and Reddit and just read what other people are experiencing because it's easier to react to a problem if you've already seen it before, as opposed to just suddenly hitting you square between the eyes and you're like, what do I do? So, and a lot of the problems with Facebook and Reddit is you get people bickering back and forth, calling each other names. But if you skip that part, unless you like drama, you can get a lot of answers. So when these things come up, you know how to handle them. I ran into a Toro host just a couple of weeks ago, and she had one of those little Fiat 500s. They're so small that I sat in one once and I had to open up the sunroof in order for my head to fit in. So they they're pretty small. So I start talking to her. Hey, how's it going? How's that Fiat do for you? She goes, it's out all the time. It's just it but it's never here. It's great. We have a couple of them, and she goes, the only problem is we don't know what to do about the depreciation on this car. I'm like,
Oh,
I'm like, why? She goes, we're just having a ton of miles put on it. I'm like, well, what do you have the mileage limit set at? We have it set for unlimited miles. That means somebody could rent that car for 3 days, drive, they could get to San Francisco and back and put 1,800 miles on that car and roughly pay $140. That she might make 120 to $140 because those Fiats go out for a real cheap price. So I was like, oh, you got to take that off. You don't that you're just giving away all you're giving away your depreciation. And I've learned from the unlimited miles that I don't want people doing that. So I offer unlimited miles, but for absurd rates. On my F-250, they could have unlimited miles, but it's $200 a day,
Mm.
and people won't take it. But people will drive a pickup truck like that across the country. That my pickup truck's been to San Francisco numerous times. I think it's probably been around your neighborhood up in Washington. I know it's been to Florida, so it's traveled a lot. It's made a lot of money for me, but it's
the
also depreciated a lot.
In terms of pricing the vehicles that go out, do you do that, or does Turo do that, or is it a combination?
It's a combination, but you got to remember that if you let Turo do it, they will fail you at some point. Um, it, it is a system that's not designed to look at things every day with the kind of logic that it might adjust the prices every day if you let it, because you can turn that off completely. Where an auto pricing system, but the auto pricing system could put my Corvette at $50 a day if I let it.
Ooh,
Yeah. So you don't want to do that. I think my minimum price on if I let I can take a look on my side and I'll relay it to you. But if I go into my Model S, remember this is a 2022, and I go to edit my listing and I go to pricing and discounts. They have a recommended minimum price, and it's coming up as $70 a day for a Model S. That's not something I would do. And their recommended maximum is $338. So that means if you leave on automatic pricing, it will vary from $70 on some days all the way up to $338. And I've found myself that if I leave on automatic pricing like that, I will have the car priced out of the money where no one's going to rent it. And you're thinking, oh, well, this is recommended for this weekend. It's going to go at that. If you get greedy like that and let it do it, it's going to, it's no one's going to rent the car, and it's going to go through the weekend priced $200, $300. That's not going to get rented. And if you put it where you think it should be, at minimums and maximums that you're going to be happy with, you're going to find out that the car will get booked.
now on this Model S, do you know what the range is in the air? I know they fly. I've seen a
Yeah,
video of it,
I saw
especially
that
on
too.
Turo.
Yes. I think on that particular Model S, was that a plaid?
That was a plaid.
Okay, so plaids
It
will probably
was
fly
a
further.
little further, a little
Yeah,
farther.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Fortunately, there's decent insurance on Turo, but that is an entire different episode on how to handle Turo insurance.
Sure.
Um, and step one would be don't use Turo insurance. That is step
Oh,
one. Yeah,
really?
yeah. But that's an entire another episode.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah.
If there's
But
interest, let us know, and we'll come back to it.
yeah,
How many cars is too many cars?
uh, 1 billion.
Well, uh, at what point do you have to hire people to help manage?
I'm in the process of hiring someone. Me and another guy are gonna hire one guy who's gonna work 5 days a week to clean, check in, and check out our cars. And he'll work for me like half the day, and I'll work for my partner the other half of the day, and then we're gonna pay him. Um, we haven't stopped expanding, and it's gonna definitely get to a point where I can't do uh 20 cars in a day. I know of another host. A couple weeks ago, they put up on Facebook that they had they have close to 90 cars that they host, and they put out a message on Facebook thanking another host for helping them out because they had a record number of starts in one day. They had to get 46 cars ready.
Wow.
So that's a
That's
lot of work, and you have to have help at that point, and it's going to happen. Right now, we're in the middle of spring break. It's going to be busy. It's going to be busy, busy, busy.
that's amazing. Oh, which kind of so as you expand, what kind of cars are your best money makers on a payment to income kind of ratio?
Uh, Cars that are not electric.
Yeah,
I,
they're a
I
lot cheaper to buy.
they're a lot cheaper to buy. Right now, on my my monthly spreadsheet that I have, that I keep track of car payment, insurance payment, parking fees, versus income. I have, uh, I probably have like 5 or 6 cars that haven't made their money for this month. One of them is not listed because of a safety recall, which is another episode of something to talk about that. Uh, Two of them haven't made their money yet because we just listed them 2 days ago. Okay. Uh, but the other three that haven't made their money yet is my Model S, my Model Y, and I think the either the Polestar or the Hyundai. They haven't made their money yet. And it's not a usual thing to happen. Usually they do make their money. Maybe baseball fans aren't big on electric cars, but the Model S does that's one that doesn't make its money more often than the others. Model Y's been in and out of the shop lately, so that's part of the reason. Um,
And we
so
should mention that it is spring training in Arizona right now. And today, this is being recorded on the 21st of the month. It's probably going out on the 22nd. So that's the first 3 weeks has covered all but a few of the cars and all but two for good reason.
yes, yes. Uh, by the way, happy first day of spring. Isn't that
Oh,
today?
yeah, is it?
Yeah, it's
I
the
don't know.
21st. That's why they call it spring training.
That's why
Uh,
it stopped raining, by the way.
oh,
So I assume
I'm
the
glad your wife didn't call you to tell you
the
that.
yeah, I'm sure the cotton candy princesses stopped melting.
Yeah.
So
The best cars seem to there's different categories, and each car is going to have its good. There's going to be good cars for certain groups, and it's also going to depend on your area. Obviously, a Corvette convertible is going to do great this time of year, and both of mine do. So yeah, it's spring in Arizona. Of course, it's gonna do great. But you find cars that are 20 to 30 thousand dollars, whether either slightly used or new, that are small SUVs. They're going to do great. They're going to bring their money back. Equinoxes, they're going to do really well. I've never thought of an Equinox as an exciting car. I've got 4 of them now,
wow.
um, but they're out constantly, and they're booked out, and people love the car. And it was a car that I used to just drive past and not even notice. Um, but a car that, a 4-door SUV with a decent sized trunk, uh, that doesn't cost 50, $60,000 is you're gonna double your payment every month. So it's a
Sure.
good investment.
So, what are some risks that people might not think of that they should keep in mind before deciding if they want to get into renting cars out on Turo?
There's so many risks. One, you got to be able to devote the time to it, and if you can only do it part time, it's going to show. Because if you can't meet people during your normal work schedule between like 8 and 5 p.m., you're going to limit how many times a car is going to be rented. If you can accept that, then that you're going to have not as good results, then that's great. You just got to be aware of it. Uh, but there's tons of other risks. You're talking about a mechanical risk. Every time the car goes out, there's a risk it's going to come back, uh, you know, snoogled up or something. You never know what's going to happen. For all I know, I could lose two cars tonight. It happens and sometimes that stuff happens in threes. People die in threes, and so do cars. Um, it's just the way it is. But you could you could have accidents. Obviously, you could have odd damages. You could have people just do stupid stuff. I had a renter yesterday that when I got into the car, I have a dash mat because there's getting slight cracks on my Ford Focus. So I bought a $30 dash mat, put it down there, and I come in to the car yesterday to check it in, and the dash mat's been pulled off and turned around. So I texted her and said, "What happened with the dash mat?" Before I start going like you're an idiot, I would never do that. Don't ever do that with your customers.
Good
Um,
idea.
yeah, some people need that type of advice. So, well, if you need that type of advice, don't get into Toro in the first place. Uh, and she said, "Oh, I thought I was supposed to take it off when I was driving." She
Wow.
li- she literally wrote that she thought it was a visor for the dash when you were not driving. So she pulled the dash mat off every time she drove somewhere and then put it back when she wasn't driving.
That's that's interesting.
It's
That's
it's glued on and velcroed.
right. Right.
Yeah.
Clearly,
Yeah.
it's not sliding around.
No.
That's
No, it
amazing.
wasn't. Yeah.
That's
But you run into things like that and first I was angry when I saw it was pulled off. And then when she told me why she pulled it off, I just laughed. It just gave me a chuckle. And then I was a little sad because I realized that she must have a very hard time with other things in life.
so for big things like damage, there's always insurance, but for common repairs, there are things that come up where you have to pay out of pocket to fix something stupid. Can you give me an example?
Slight dings. Toro is not going to look at damage that is a slight ding. It's got to be over a certain amount of inches before they will uh, call that something that's claimable.
Yeah, outside
So,
of normal wear and tear.
yes. So that is considered normal wear and tear. So
Interesting.
you can try and settle that with the renter, and that's when you get a good PDR guy, somebody paintless dent repair, someone who can come out and will charge you $100 to pull a little dent out, and then you move on.
Yeah.
And you can settle that a lot of times with the renter by talking to them and saying, "Hey, how do you want to handle this?" And then you get them a quote, and you get them a quote, and if it's something like $100 for a ding, more than likely they're gonna be like, "You know what? I'll take care of that."
Yeah.
There's ways to get that money out, to squeeze them a little bit if you
Sure.
had to, and I would only squeeze someone if they were actually liable for it.
Sure.
You don't want to be
Get
an
a bad
ass.
reputation. Sure.
Well, it's not even that. You just don't want to be an ass and just try and take money from people because you have some leverage on them.
Well,
It,
that's how Enterprise got their market dominance.
I suppose. I
So,
suppose.
for mechanical troubles, since these vehicles are so new, I imagine a good number of them would be covered under warranty.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and that's why right now a lot of my cars are new cars. Not all of them, but a lot of my used cars I do have extended warranties, which still doesn't cover everything, and you can run into things
Yeah.
that aren't covered, and you are still coming out of pocket after spending $3,000 on a warranty. And I'm not a big fan of extended warranties, and I am looking for an alternative solution. I've heard of companies that will give you a warranty for like $89 a month and cover most everything. And when you compare it against buying a $4,000 extended warranty on, let's say, a Mercedes, that actually makes more sense to do the $89 a month because those warranties you get at dealerships expire, let's say, after 36,000 miles. But you could do that in a year
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
a rental car. So now the warranty's gone. You've spent $4,000. And if you had bought like the $89 program from who knows who they are, something I'm still researching, uh, you 89 times 12, what is it? I don't know, but it's less than $4,000.
Right. Yeah. It's closer to like 1,000. So
Yeah,
the
probably.
So the on a particular car, what is the age cutoff that Turo has?
12 years. 12 years and 100,
Really?
12 years and 130,000 miles. But if your car turns 12 and then turns 13, it's grandfathered in. It gets to stay.
Huh.
And if you put a car on with 120,000 miles and when it reaches 130,000, it is still grandfathered in. So you could keep sending it out. My first F-250 that I had on went over 130,000 miles while it was on Toro, and you know we didn't have it a party, no parties, no celebration. She
That's
said, "Oh, it's getting old,"
that's a
but it
bit
was allowed
sad,
to
but
stay on. They can't get on at that age.
we didn't do that when my grandfather retired. We
You
went
didn't
ahead and no, we didn't keep him around. We went ahead and straight to pasture.
bury them, huh?
So, do you have an exit strategy on individual vehicles?
Sell them.
Right?
I,
When?
I don't really have an exit strategy at this point. I know if I get a car that's looking a little long in the tooth, if it looks, let's call it tired, with the interior is getting a little
Little
worn looking, if there's serious mechanical issues, things like that, I would definitely consider putting it out to pasture. I keep track of how much money I've spent on every car, including every bit of gas that I can keep track of, every the monthly parking, the insurance, things like that. So I know what I'm into for each car and whether I'm at a profit or a loss on that car. And then, of course, you have to guesstimate what the value is. You can look at 1,000 different resources and get 1,000 different numbers on what the value of your car is.
for sure.
So you got to
Now,
just take an average.
sure. So, how much of a chunk does Turo take?
They take varying chunks. You can get on different programs they can take 10% all the way up to 40%.
Ooh.
And the 40% plan, they're giving you insurance that has a $250 deductible. They'll pay for your car if it's out of service, and it's the best insurance policy that they have. Okay. Now, on the flip side of that, the 10% plan, which I am on, has a $2,500 deductible, and that's pretty much all the support you'll get. And I'm good with that because when you do the numbers, uh, it definitely works out especially when you have 37 cars, that the 10% plan is much better because that would be
Right.
giving up a lot of money
Right.
for them. And frankly, their insurance is quite scary.
So that 10% might still be more than you want to give up. Tell me about snap cars.
Oh, I'm not ready to talk about that yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then we won't talk about that.
Yes, we
So
won't.
what you can tell me, which is even better, is a funny story.
Did you have
Something
one in
goofy.
mind?
The one about the Bronco?
Oh, the Bronco. Yeah, so here's one of those risks that can come up. I got a cryptic message one night uh, several months ago, before it was on recall, saying it was on a Saturday, and the renter said, "Hey, I think the car was impounded last night I think it was Wilcox or something, or Bisbee." And uh, why do you think that? What happened? And then I heard nothing from her. Then she ghosted me. So I'm able to track the car. I can see that it's in a car lot somewhere in Bisbee, Arizona, which is close to the border. I called Toro. Toro gave me some actually good advice and said, "Why don't you call the police department over there and find out what they know?" Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So I call, and I'm thinking impounded. Maybe they parked in the handicap spot or something, or maybe they parked in a parking lot where they shouldn't have, and the competing restaurant had them towed. But they say, yeah, call the police department. So I give them a call. They're like, oh, yeah. Oh, the Bronco from last night. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've got that. That's over. That's over at the slot here. Here's their number. Border Patrol picked it up for smuggling. Smuggling? Where are they smuggling? I don't know. Okay. So I called a lot, and they're like, yeah, we've got the car. Um, it's not going to get released for a couple of days, but uh, you give us a call back, and we'll let you know if it's been released. Okay. Everyone was super friendly. And so I called Turo. Toro's like, all right, here's what you can do. We can have a tow truck come go pick it up. They'll take 7 to 10 days because it's more than 200 miles. And you get the car back within 10 days, and we'll bring it back to your house. Or you can go pick it up yourself. I'm like, well, what are you guys going to give me? Like, oh, well, we'll pay for the gas in the vehicle that you drive down there and pay for the gas on the way back. Plus, we'll pay for the gas for the Bronco on the way back. Plus, you record the mileage for both vehicles for both ways. We'll pay you that back. Then we'll pay you for the time. We'll pay you for the impound fees. It's like, okay. So we find out on Monday that it was human trafficking, that it was human smuggling. They're they were bringing some Mexican individuals across the border, and I had to go pick up the car. I had a rental that Friday night, so I wanted to go down there myself pick it up. So hop in a Jeep Renegade. Oh, wrong car to choose. Not very comfortable for a long drive, but it's all we had. So we drove down a couple hours, find the Bronco. I see it. I'm like, what's going to be wrong with it? I'm expecting fenders to be falling off and the bumper to be wrapped around the steering wheel and things like that. And there's just some muddy footprints in the back, and that was it. And it was in perfect. So it just needed a little bath. Otherwise, it was in perfect shape. And paid the impound guy $700 for those
Ooh,
4 days. Yeah,
yeah,
Toro
yeah.
reimbursed every penny of that. They gave us another $700 for driving down there for the gas and whatnot. Like, all right, that's not bad. If this could happen more often, a $700 week, that works for me perfectly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that if it times out by 4 weeks in the month, all I got to do is keep picking up cars in Tucson. Hey, cool, I'll do that all day long. Um, yeah, so it was done. It was used for human trafficking. Obviously, the renter knew what was going on. I was surprised that she called me and even told me. And then she gets in touch with me a couple days later and says, and just messages me again, thinking maybe I'm not going to give her a 1 star rating. Oh, well, hey, thanks. Sorry about that with the Bronco. I'm glad you got it back. Like it was no big deal.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
you
from
made a bunch of money, buddy.
yeah, I did fine on it. Now, I've heard from other renters in the Arizona area that, or not renters, but Turo hosts, that they've gotten their cars and it takes them almost 2 months to get them back. I don't know why I got mine back so quickly because I got it back in 4 days. But I've heard it's taking up to 2 months because Border Patrol doesn't seem to care anymore that it's a rental car. They're going to impound it, confiscate it, and hold on to it until some sort of legal action takes place. So, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, that was pretty awesome. I appreciate you giving us the time to talk quickly about Turo 101, which, by the way, is a pretty good name for the video if we haven't decided on one yet.
Yeah,
So,
that could work too. Toro
yeah,
Talk
so
101.
there we
And
go.
and if you guys like this video, normally we do a lot of videos on EV stuff, EV news. And we make fun of different car companies because we're good at it. Not for any good reason, but we're just good at making fun of like Mary Barra. Uh, but if you like this video, we expect some other people to see this that don't normally see our regular videos. If you like this, let us know down in the comments. Uh, we can make a ton more,
Yeah.
and
Let
they
us know
wouldn't.
the topics.
Yeah, they would. They just would not suck. That's all I can tell you. They would not suck.
I can second that. Thanks, Bear. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks, and we'll be back next time for something different and amazing.